this chat. Head on over, come on in. I had to do a new link because for some reason the other link wasn't working properly. I got my headphones on here. The testimony from Mia today is what we're going to talk about. So this morning, they wrapped up with Deontay Nash, which was Cassie's BFF. There was really nothing new to see there. In that testimony, it was primarily, hold on, I want to make sure everyone can see me. All right, there we go. All right, there you go. You guys are starting to come on in here. Let me know where you're watching from. Apologies, I'm outside of the courtroom. I'm going to give everyone a chance to come on over to this live. So sorry, the other link just was not working. I know it was 100 people waiting for me. I'm so sorry. But here, I'm going to let you guys come on over. Y'all let people know in the other chat to come over to this link. Even if you could cut and paste this link, put it in the other chat so they can see it. Oh yeah, I want y'all to come on in here. I want you to hear it all. I want you to hear it all. Mia took the stand. They finished up with Deontay. Baby, Deontay was not having it. He was quite sassy with Xavier. Understandably, I don't blame him. It was a lot of dumb questions being asked over and over and over again. So there really wasn't anything new with Deontay's. There wasn't any, like I gave a summary of it last night. If you didn't see it, hit that like as you're coming on in and hit that subscribe as well if you haven't. I think we can get to 60,000 pretty soon. We can get to 60,000 in June. But when Deontay took the stand, basically Deontay was reinforcing that Cassie did not like F-offs. He spoke about other violent acts that he'd seen. He talked about different people within the entity, different security guards that would stand there as Diddy was whipping on Cassie. Y'all, sorry. It's New York City. I want to make sure y'all can hear me. Okay, you guys are here from Dallas. Child, somebody's got some fried chicken. It smells so good. I want it. All right, there we go. The ambulance is gone. I hope they survived. So Deontay just really reinforced aspects of S trafficking as far as the coercion, the force. I was really thrilled by the fact that he said Diddy's threat was that Diddy was going to release her, send her S tapes to her parents. And as a friend, you know, he was super gay. He was gay happy. He said, Deontay is Cassie's BFF, who also served as both Cassie's stylist and at times Diddy's stylist. He was paid by Diddy to style and do her creative stuff. So that's why he took the stand. But he talked about the fact that Cassie kept talking about, you know, he said, you know, if I leave him, that he's going to send my parents my S tape and he's going to release it, and that he's going to, you know, terminate me and I'll never work again. As far as the sex tape, he said, send it. Tell him to send it. Gone. Yep. You know, basically like your parents know what you look like butt naked. Tell him to send it. And then she said, no, it's me and other guys. And he was like, oh. That's how he found out, because nobody was understanding initially, or her friends weren't understanding, okay, she's going to send an S tape. Because he was like, well, it's going to be you and Diddy. So, like, who cares? She was like, no, it's going to be me and these Mandingo warrior strangers. You know, there could be a two for all. That could be one in the front, one in the back, whatever it was so humiliating. Anyhow, Deontay did a really good job of holding his own on cross. I think he was a really good witness overall to really just show the power of the enterprise. I'll tell you this before I get into Mia, because I know you guys, there's sound. Other people can hear me. I know you guys are, he was a Mandingo warrior. Some of those guys that Cassie was with, but I know that I had been saying, I want to make sure you guys can hear everything about Mia before I have to go back in for lunch. But I had been saying, like, come on, wrap it up. We only got 100 likes in here, y'all. We've got over 500 in the chat, so let's get those likes up. Also, if y'all could take the link from this live and shift it over to the one that I previously set that I can't figure out how to get the hell into, that would help a lot. So, there we go. So, overall, like, I kept saying, like, all right, enough with Cassie. Like, can y'all give us evidence of, you know, issues with other people? Because I kept feeling like, at the end of the day, if y'all focus on Cassie and people just are not buying, they're not buying the forced labor, the S trafficking, then they may not trust anything else that relates to her testimony. So how about you prove up some things using other witnesses, right? And then it dawned on me today as I was hearing more testimony in the courtroom, which was that a component of why they have some of these people continue to talk about aspects of how Cassie was abused, but also, you know, the fact that security and other Diddy staff stood back and watched, is because all of that goes into explaining why some of these victims were so damn scared of this man and why they would get kidnapped or beat allegedly and still come back to work on Monday, and why people felt they couldn't just get up and go and get another job somewhere else. In addition, you know, with the music industry, you got to think about it. It's not like law. It's not like working at a hospital where you can go work at any hospital. There's literally only like 4 record labels, 4 top record labels, maybe 5 or 6. And at the end of the day, if Diddy says, she was my assistant and that's a horrible girl, don't hire her, ain't nobody hiring you. And that was one of the fears that he instilled in people. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe as y'all coming in. We got 700 people in here and we got less than 200 likes. That like is like good compensation. Give me that like. So in the end, I think that they should do even more of a job to reinstill just how fearful people were of retaliation. They got that out of Deontay. So Deontay, Cassie's BFF, who was also her stylist and was getting paid by Revolt, when they asked him on Cross, they were like, so you sat there and you let him beat on your friend X, Y, and Z? And he was like, I had to. They said, why? He said, I was scared of retaliation. In other words, he was scared that they would blacklist him, blackball, he wouldn't be able to take care of himself, nothing. And that's exactly what happens. Plus, those bodyguards that would stand back, you have to think of it this way. The bodyguards that would not intervene when Cassie was getting her butt beat by Diddy, it's not that they just didn't intervene. If someone else jumped in to help her, they would jump them, right? They were there to make sure Diddy was able to whoop on, beat on whoever he wanted with no recourse. That's what makes it RICO. That's what makes it an enterprise act, because he's getting his staff to do his dirty work, to cover it up, and to help instill fear in people that they can't just simply tell. Now, let me tell you this. A lot of people have been like, ooh, I said before, I was like, they got to get some security up there to testify for the prosecution at some point. There's 2 more weeks left after this week. They got to get some security. And people are like, what about Gene Deal? I'm here to tell you, Gene Deal is not going to testify. For those of you who were looking for Gene Deal, who were waiting on Gene Deal, I'm going to talk about Gene Deal, and then I'm going to talk about Mia, the witness that's currently on the stand. Here's why Gene Deal is likely not going to testify. He's been at this courthouse every week, multiple days, sitting in the courtroom, watching testimony. Well, this is why y'all follow me, your legal bestie, because I don't know that other people have broke it down to you like this. Under the law, if you are slated as a witness for either side, you are not allowed to sit in and listen to the testimony of other witnesses. You are only allowed to come in on your given day, say your piece, and get the hell on. Get the hell on. So that's why I'm saying, y'all watch. So as you watch, like, who comes into the courthouse, as far as not the people you know that are slated as witnesses, but other celebs, if you see anybody come and watch, you know that they're not going to testify. They're just there to watch, perhaps moral support, is because under the law, you cannot sit in and listen to other witnesses' testimony if you are a witness, unless both prosecution and defense agree. The reason being is the concern is that you're going to hear someone else's testimony and change your testimony based on what they say. Make sense? So in this case, they did let Alex Fine. So Alex Fine, Cassie's husband, you probably heard articles. Hit some more likes, y'all. We got over 1,000. We only got 300 likes. There were some articles that were like, they're kicking Alex Fine, Cassie's husband, out the courtroom. You're damn right. You're damn right, because he is on Diddy's witness list. So what they agreed to with him is, because Cassie was 9 months pregnant, this was emotional, and she did need moral support. They said he was allowed, they agreed, that's the only reason he got to be in there. He was allowed to be in there when she talked about topics other than that R word that happened at the end of Cassie and Diddy's relationship in 2018. She could not be in, he could not be in the courtroom and hear any of that related testimony, because that was the one sliver of things that he was going to testify about if called. Also, if he gets called, he's going to be called during Diddy's presentation, when Diddy gets those last 2 weeks, And that's because there was a text message that Alex sent Diddy that said, I will F you up. Like, I will beat your butt and all this kind of stuff. Upset with him about, how he had treated Cassie, etc., beating on Cassie, all of that. So that explains why, Gene Dill won't be testifying unless there's some special something that comes up down the line and both sides agree. He's been sitting in that courtroom too long. He ain't gonna be up there. In addition, Lil Rod's not gonna testify, boo. You heard it here first. Lil Rod is not testifying. I know you guys were wondering. Hey, Mims, y'all hit that like. Tell me if anyone else, any other lawyers break down to you why Lil Rod is not testifying. Lil Rod ain't testifying. Lil Rod's been in this courtroom, sitting there watching every day. That was the show. That's okay. That was the show. It's like, I'm here. I want to show solidarity with other victims. But he's not going to testify in this case, y'all. He cannot. He sat in there and he listened to testimony from other witnesses, namely, I believe it was Cassie. So he sure as hell can get up there. There is a risk that his testimony, hit that like, hit the subscribe, y'all. His testimony would be changed based on what he heard Cassie say. Including if you think about it like on cross-examinations, they'd be going hard on certain stuff. And he could then, if you're a witness, you could be like, oh, I'm gonna better prepared, stuff like that. All right, so next up, let's talk Mia. Mia. Oh, Mia. Okay, so people were asking, how's she gonna testify if she's anonymous? Listen, they show her face. We get to see her face. We see exactly what she looks like. She's a cutie. She's a cutie. All of that. I don't know who she is. Like I don't think she's a celebrity person or in a celebrity field anymore. She used to be, obviously, but I think she has totally walked away from that life. Let me describe her. So I'll say this. So she was Diddy's assistant. So she started off as his assistant. She was told she was going to get paid $55K. This is in New York. She got, was it? I think it was New York. Yeah, New York. $55K initially, but then she was only given 50. She would work. She said at a height, she worked 5 days straight, no sleep. She was not allowed to sleep unless he told her that he could sleep. And even then, at times, she would get upset. One time, she went 5 days straight working with no sleep. They let her sleep because she ended up having like hallucinations, lost her hearing, and a variety of things. In addition, oh y'all, sorry, people were asking different questions. I want you to know, Misa Hilton and the boys will not be testifying. You heard it here first. The sons are not testifying. Those are wondering. Misa Hilton is not testifying. Give me my credit. Y'all see anybody else say that today and they don't give me my credit or tomorrow, whenever? You tell them, hey, my legal bestie told me that first. They've been in this courtroom. Somebody asked about Sarah Chapman. I don't know. I haven't seen her. But they've been in this courtroom listening to testimony. That means they're not testifying. Back to Mia. So basically, Mia started in her 20s. She was eager. She started as an assistant. Of course, like with other women, he lied about what he was going to pay him, told him one number. She had a headhunter, told her one number, started her with less. She was making $50K a year, and she was worked like a dog. She talked about violence. She said one of the first things she testified to is that not only did she suffer violence at his hands, but he SA'd her multiple times. She actually lived, like when they would be in Miami, she would live in his house. She had to, that was the requirement. She had to live in his house so that she could tend and work for him all day, every day. Well, as a result, he also had a rule, no locks on the doors. He said, it's my house. You're not locking no doors in my house. In turn, in the middle of the night, he'd go in there and he'd take what he wanted from her. Just like old Master on the slave plantation. He thought he was gonna do reverse because she's Caucasian. He said, oh, I'm the master now. I'm gonna creep in here while you're sleeping and take what I want. Hit that like button, y'all. Hit the subscribe. Here's why it's my understanding that she is able to proceed as anonymous. So again, we're able to see her. Y'all just aren't. And then her name to us is Mia, just like Jane Doe. But the jury actually knows her real name. She showed them her passport with her true name on it. And the judge gave an instruction to the jury that says, you're not allowed to make any assumptions based off the fact that she is testifying under an alias name. So you can't be like, oh, she's using that fake name. Yeah, she's using the fake name because Diddy is gonna unalive her, which he probably would. Now let me describe her. before I get into her testimony. This woman is terrified. I see now why she wanted to be an alias, Mia. She is, okay, she's in her 40s. She's Caucasian, attractive looking woman. She doesn't even look up. Like when she was testifying and they were asking her, like, did you ever experience any violence with Diddy? She said yes. And they asked her, and first she talked about like witnessing violence against Cassie and other people. Then they said, has he ever, done anything to you? And she was like, she looked down at her hands and said, yes, he, R-worded me. And then they said, was it more than once or once? She said, more than once. She looks down and she plays with her hands. I'm sorry, y'all. I believe her. If you ever known someone who has had that horrible, horrible experience, that's how they talk about the incident. And she talks so slow. If I don't know, if you know who she is, will you be allowed to say her name? I guess anybody could, but I mean, you'd be a terrible person. Mia is a assistant that formerly worked for him. She was never in a consensual relationship. As of the testimony out now, it was never a consensual relationship. He would grope her, he would touch her, he would stick his hands up her panties, and the requirement of the job was that she must live at his house. She was not allowed to lock his door, and in the middle of the night, he would come in there and he would R-word her. She is a walking commercial for PTSD. I ain't never seen nothing like this in my life. I look forward to finding out when she left him and how long she's had this, because I believe that she's filed a civil suit. Mims, if you're still in the chat, please confirm. She filed a civil suit against him under Jane Doe. And that's why she's allowed to proceed in this case under an alias. Because if the judge in your civil case says what you've been through is that rough, then you're allowed to hear. Versus like Cassie and Dawn, they couldn't be Jane Doe's because they filed their lawsuits under their name. No, she's not the musical artist Mia. This is an alias. So I wanted to explain that. So she is terrified. She's got PTSD. She talks super slow. There was actually an elderly woman in the courtroom that's in a wheelchair, and she's like, this girl's so hard to follow. And I'm like, yeah, that's what being petrified looks like. So she's here to testify on forced labor, witnessing substance distribution, y'all know what I mean, as well as the means and the method for the RICO entity to operate. The RICO entity is Combs Enterprises. Thank you so much, Adrienne. I really appreciate that super chat. So what she's there to show is like literally security guards would just stand there as he would assault someone. They would say nothing. She would report it. And then she would get in trouble, report certain violent acts. She would get in trouble. So literally, this is how she would talk. They'd say, was there ever a time that you went to a party with Prince? She says, yes. And they said, when was that? I think it was 20. It's like she's breathing hard each time. It's not fake. It's totally believable. She is also she's friends with both Deontay and Cassie. So she told the story about how Diddy started wailing on Cassie at Cassie's house. Deontay jumps on her back trying to protect Cassie. So then and then he starts wailing on Deontay. So then she jumps on Diddy's back. She said Diddy then slung her across the wall. Her whole body slams into the wall and she like slid down that wall. She said she realized like, oh, we done messed up. She was like, oh, this isn't gonna be good. Like, this is terrible. And then Cassie gets the gash on her head. So the point is, all of these people are seeing all of this violence over and over. She told the story of the Prince party, and I'm going to give you that, and that's where we broke for lunch. She said, basically, they got invited to a party where Prince was there. Her and Cassie show up along with another friend. Cassie sees Diddy walk in, and she's like, So she takes off, trying to leave. I think this is the one where she tried to like jump over the balcony, and they were like, no. So they run out, and they try to Cassie tries to run away from Diddy. So Mia follows her, that's her friend, and Diddy catches up with Cassie and just, pow, he going to town on her. Baby, do you know Cassie got saved by Prince? Prince saved the fucking day. Prince said, I ain't never scared, okay? Bless his heart in heaven. Prince said, not on my watch. With his little high heels and his blouse and his mascara and his eyeliner. Prince had his security stop Diddy and say, oh, no, 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 no. He had his security stop and intervene, made Diddy get off of her and get away from her and leave Cassie alone. Y'all, Prince, the singer, Prince did that, okay? His security was the one that was bold enough to stand up to Diddy and his goons. I call the security goons now. Because whether they touched her or whether they sat back and let him touch her, you're a goon. You're a goon. Not on my watch, yes. It says, given my expertise, what's my prediction? Is he going to be found guilty or not? He's going to be found guilty of something. There's no way to get out of the prostitution charge, I'll tell you that. Something. So, yeah, so Prince came in, saved her. Prince forced Diddy to stop whooping up on her. You think about that? I think that also helps to speak to the power of the entity. Because remember, some people have been side-eyeing these girls. Like Cece said she was kidnapped and then came back and kept working for him for 12 more years and continued to, not 12 years, but continued to ask to go back to work for him, right? Now I'm starting to see testimony like this helps you see the power of the entity. Because here's the thing. I side-eyed it when, they were talking about Cece being kidnapped and then coming back to work. I also was side-eyeing, of course, many people were side-eyeing some of Cassie's testimony, right, about not leaving. But when you're now hearing from multiple witnesses, all these different witnesses, including Deontay, who say, he did this to me and I couldn't leave. We're talking people that aren't even effing him, right? People that are not even in relationships to him. And those people are saying, I could not leave either due to the fact that I didn't want to be blackballed. Because they've seen him blackball other people and things like that. I think that is going to help some juror get over a hump they would otherwise have of how are you kidnapped if you came back to work on Monday, which is a legitimate question. So I'm telling you both sides of the argument. So, do I think he's going to get pardoned? Yeah, probably. But hopefully it turns into a bribery charge. If that happens, if he pays for a pardon, then both of them can go to jail. Trump can go to jail, he can go to jail for bribery. But yeah, I really have to say, the way she sat there, and she has sat there petrified, she hasn't even gone into detail on the SAs, plural, that she's experienced. So Mia's on the stand is what I'm talking about. Mia is an alias for one of his staff members. He was never in, we only got 600 likes, y'all. We got 2,100 in this chat. Let's see, if we get 1,000 of you guys, hit the subscribe and hit the like. It's just her eyes. She's so exhausted. She said she, quote, she feared that Diddy was going to unalive Cassie. When he slammed Cassie's head against the bed, her head started gushing blood, and then they all jumped on him. All is in Deontay, her friend, as well as her, to try and get him off of her. Thank you so much, Adrian. I appreciate that super chat. And let me tell you, she also talked about, she was terrified of him. She's absolutely petrified of him. He would find her, like one time she wasn't supposed to leave the house unless it was permission. She'd been in the house working at Diddy's place because she was required to live at Diddy's place in Miami, which is how he SA'd her, is that in that situation. So yeah, so she's living in the house. She wanted to leave because it had been days, and she goes out at 2 a.m. thinking he's asleep. He has people go find her. He has security go and get her. She's extremely fragile. You can tell she suffers from panic attacks, probably PTSD. She's a smoker. Smoking, a lot of people do that to calm their nerves. She is a smoker. She started off as his assistant, and then ultimately they created a Revolt Films. It was really just for branding, but really didn't do much. And she was supposed to be a co-owner of it. She was supposed to get a portion of it. She never got nothing. He had her working all these hours thinking, oh, she's got ownership and some stuff. She is here to testify about forced labor, about the way the criminal enterprise operated. Because remember, these are employees by name. These are security guards. These are, security staff and drivers by name who are operating in a criminal context here by sitting back and fixing Diddy's dirty work. What happened with Prince's wife? I don't know. The chef hasn't testified yet. When's a prosecutor going to go subpoena other celebrities? I mean, I don't know that that's needed. The prosecution actually said they're going to end about a week early, and they're going to cut the witnesses that they're calling. They're not calling as many witnesses as they said that they were going to call before. She wasn't on I Want to Work for Diddy because she stated that if you ever watch the show I Want to Work for Diddy, that's what it was like. She said that is exactly what it was like, the craziness. It says, whose fault is that though? This has been the way record labels have worked forever. Not the putting on hands, folks. Who wants to work in those conditions anyway? It sounds crazy. Well, I think these girls are all starting in their 20s. They don't know that that's what that is. You may hear like, oh, things are crazy. Like I have a relative who's in the industry and he tells me things that are unheard of. And we warn him, but what we thought, like what most people think you're gonna walk into is like some drugs, some titties, some butt naked, girls dancing at a party, maybe a little bit of an orgy. You're not thinking that you're gonna get choked, you're gonna get hit, that you're gonna get SA'd by your boss. And here's the thing. So the end of the testimony concluded with this. She told the story of how there was a party with Prince. She brought Cassie with her. She tried to help Cassie escape Diddy because he was about to tear her up. Then Diddy caught her. Diddy starts wailing on her. Then Prince's security intervenes. Finally, somebody stopped Diddy from wailing on her because apparently nobody but Prince had the chutzpah to do it. So yeah, I'm supposed to go back in. So then she said she gets a call from HR that she's suspended without pay. She said, why? Because remember, she's been working, she works all day, every day, all the time. She said, why? They said, because you were insubordinate. She said, insubordinate to who? Said, to Diddy. In other words, by helping Cassie escape, Prince the singer, yes. Mia is an alias for victim, this is victim 4. 4 or victim 2? Victim 4. It's an alias for her. She's a former employee of Diddy's. They were never in a consensual relationship as of the testimony currently. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. This trip is very expensive. Thank you, Marie. Y'all can also go to my Cash App, which is MISS Red Wine. You'll see my picture pop up. But it's just crazy to me that we're now hearing consistent stories that every time you report or complain about an instance, a violent incident of Diddy's, you get fired. But you don't just get fired, you get blackballed. So tell that to a friend and tell that to a friend where they're like, well, why would you keep going to work at a place where you're kidnapped? Because where the hell else are you gonna work? You gotta work your way into a role at another place. And the thing is, I was talking about this with my uncle who's retired from the music industry. He was like, you can't even, if you're working for Diddy, you can't just go and start working for Jay-Z or Jimmy Iovine or someone you would have to get Diddy's permission to go work elsewhere. That's the rule. Whereas if you work at Coca-Cola, right, and you want to go interview with Pepsi, you do. And then once you get the job, you're like, sorry, Coke, going to Pepsi. No. They have a G code, especially when you're that high up. Mia is testifying for the rest of the week. Yes. Do I ever seen Diddy in the 90s growing up? I just thought he was a control freak. Yeah, it's like the mafia. That's why it's RICO, guys. It's like the mafia. He could blacklist him. Yeah. It's not just Diddy. Here's the other thing. People are asking if she was testifying under immunity. No, she hasn't testified as to even committing any crimes or co-conspiring with any crimes. But here's the thing. If you they will not charge people as co-conspirators who are also the witness to help prove up some type of a forced act. Here, she's here to help prove up forced labor. So they're not going to also make her a co-conspirator under the law. They're not going to do that because it does what's called taint the witness. Same thing with Cassie. Because it's trafficking, remember that's against your will, they're not going to also charge her. Same thing with the hookers, the male hookers. No. Hooking is consensual, but any of the trafficking alleged victims were Prince and Cassie. Also, I would have called the business bureau then. Her identity being sealed is damaging to him. She is scared. I think it definitely, yes, it definitely. So the judge instructed the jury that they're not allowed to make an assumption on the fact that she is proceeding under an alias. They can't say it's good, they can't say it's bad. But I mean, me, if I was on a jury, I'd be like, damn, you're really, I'd say you're really scared. But the thing is, if you look at that lady, you can see she is terrified. That jury knows what's up. That jury knows what's up. You cannot look at that lady and not tell she is terrified. Thank you so much, Tanya. Oh my gosh, I really appreciate that super chat. Yeah, the racketeering. All right, Yolanda, hey, welcome. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe. I actually posted a video where I break down the RICO like 2 days ago. It's short. It's under 3 minutes, or like 3 minutes, 20 seconds. You can give that a try, and it breaks it all down. But here, yes, we've got elements of forced labor. I'm going to go back up to see some more. With RICO, remember, we already know it's an enterprise. It's called Sean Combs Enterprises. So the question is, are they working together for an agreed criminal purpose to execute criminal offenses? And the answer is yes. The criminal purpose, working together to commit crimes for an agreed upon goal. The agreed upon goal is literally to keep Diddy happy, to protect his brand, to build out his brand, including they talked about how today, Mia talked about how they created Revolt Films. It really didn't do anything, but it was more to build the brand, to make it sound like Revolt was doing better and bigger and growing faster than it really was. Everything about him is the brand. He wants to look like the king. And under RICO, that's sufficient. It does not have to be a financial goal. People get that wrong. You could be a gang. Under RICO, a gang. Gangs don't have to make money. Some gangs just commit crimes. Some gangs, most of them do some types of selling drugs, but it's not required that his acts are to make money. However, we all know by protecting his brand, by making sure Kid Cudi doesn't call the cops, tampering with witnesses, tampering with the hotel so that that was not reported, what that does is it protects his brand, because if those videos got out, if evidence got out of those things, he'd lose his deals. And I think we can all see that. Yeah, the kidnapping was exclusively CC Capricorn Clark. It was not Cassie. But what we have seen so far with RICO, you only have to prove 2 underlying crimes, and I think we've seen at least 4. We've seen bribery, that was with the hotel. We've seen tampering with witnesses. They tampered with the hotel worker as the witness to make the tape go away. We saw the prostitution cross state lines. They had multiple hookers, male hookers, get on the stand and talk about that. And then someone's asking who was kidnapped. Look at my video from yesterday. Capricorn Clark, his assistant, was kidnapped at Pow Pow Point and told by Diddy, get dressed, get in a car. We about to go kill Kid Cudi. We're gonna unalive Kid Cudi, because he had just found out that Cudi and Cassie were dating. So that was a kidnapping. I break that down yesterday. Do I think D-Rock will take the stand? He hadn't been here. I was so happy. Roger Bond. So here's the key, y'all. Anybody you're wondering, are they going to take the stand if you're joining late? If you see them walk into the courtroom, if they're not walking in to testify that day, they ain't taking the stand. They ain't taking the stand. So D-Rock very well might, because he has not. I haven't, to my knowledge, somebody keeps saying he's deceased. And other people say he's not, but he hasn't been to the courthouse, so maybe that's because he's deceased. Thank you, Deion Smith. But also, Roger Bonds hasn't been here either, to my knowledge, so that makes me happy, because that means there's a chance he could testify. They got to call some security. They have to call a security guard. And here's how it works. Under RICO, what happens is everybody's like, where are the co-conspirators? You can't have a one-man RICO. They're not. The co-conspirators' indictments are sealed. They're sealed. They will only be unsealed after their testimony, because if they testify honestly, then the state is likely, the government will likely give them a deal where they're not going to pursue the indictment. So that's why it is a sealed indictment. Here's how we know they're co-conspirators, y'all. That's why you come to me and get the legal tea. Somebody clip this so I can reuse this. We know that Diddy does in fact have co-conspirators, because the indictment refers to Diddy as defendant 1. Hello, can I get an amen? Can I get ooh, I wish I had my lube, I'd shake my lube. They're referring to him as defendant 1 because there's more than one defendant. As an attorney, I can tell you, if there's only one defendant, then it's just defendant. They don't need to do -1. It's just defendant. Okay? Similarly with the victims, if it's just one victim, it would be victim. Here, because there are 4 or 5, there's victim dash 1, victim 2, victim 3. So there are other defendants that have sealed indictments. In other words, they're telling these people, yo, listen, it could be KK, it could be security, it could be others. They are, somebody said, why are they in court then? I'm telling you, the people who are in court watching are not going to be testifying. Those are not. So those who, if they're in court watching, then they don't have no deal. So some of what I am saying though is there are some co-conspirators. You just don't know who it is because the government basically says, listen, you could be a co-defendant or you could be a witness, your choice. But you got to get up there and you got to tell the truth. Can't get up there and lie. You get up there and lie, or you get up there and say, I don't remember. Then we rip up the immunity agreement, unseal your indictment, and you're going to jail. You're going to jail. That's what happens. So somebody clip this and like send it to me on Instagram, which is Attorney Simone Redwine. You're going to prison. You're going to prison. Yeah. Cassie had the baby the other day. That's right. All right. So that's kind of like the meat of what I just wanted to talk about to you guys legally today. Overall, Mia Diddy's, who hasn't, this is her alias. It is not MIA the rapper. This is one of Diddy's former assistants. She is currently on the stand. She is traumatized. She has PTSD. She's in her 40s. And this woman, she cannot even look up and look at that man. She does not want to make eye contact with him in any capacity. And if you know anybody who has been SA'd, especially as an adult, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm in New York. This is New York. I live in Texas now. If you know anybody who was SA'd, they went their whole life not being SA'd, and it happens to them as a grown-up, it changes their spirit, it changes their soul, it changes their confidence, it changes it all. And you can see that in this grown woman. She's definitely in her 40s, and she's just like, she every time she answers a question, she like breathes, talks super slow, and she looks down and she plays with her fingers. She doesn't look up at all. And I know it's because she doesn't want to lock gazes with Diddy. Diddy got them weird eyes in there. So, all right, let me go back inside. Yeah, bye, guy. I don't know what else. Yeah, bye. Love y'all. Bye. Bye, guys. How'd I get out this thing?